G'day everyone, it's T-Nick back here in Transport Fever on our American free game. I still don't know what I'm going to call this series. Probably American free game, because America is the land of the free and Boston is the birthplace of that freedom. Yeah, you know what? I like that. That was completely on the fly, but that actually works. We're watching one of our two trains struggling up the grade into the refinery siding at Boston here. As you can see, the town is growing nicely in the background, or it's shrinking. I can't really tell from this distance. I'm not an expert. Shut up. So we're watching this fella bring in another, this is the original train too, bring in another full load of oil. Just off camera, I paid down a smidge of our loan, and last year we celebrated our first year in the black, making a profit of just shy of $500,000. And obviously just over 1 million of that was from these two trains alone. Look, half of our income was spent on running costs for the trains, so they're not printing money just yet, but they're certainly providing us a good foundation at which to move forward. So as long as we're building profitable routes, we should be in a good position to take the map by storm. As you can see, we're currently loading fuel on our train by osmosis, and we've just left that behind because, yep, why the hell not? You know, you don't want to work too hard. Must be a government railway. Right, so today we are going to need to find another profitable route. Now, I know I said I wanted to start getting our passengers set up ASAP. However, passengers do take a little while to come to fruition, and I'd rather not be spending money to prop them up if we're not earning a big chunk of money from freight operations. So I've been having a bit of a look, and I'm thinking we might be running some cattle from Tucson Farm up here down to San Bernardino food processing plant. We can then run the food back up here to the farm and then just truck it the rest of the way into Tucson there. Trucks being reasonably cheap to run should mean that our train will turn a mighty profit, running loaded in both directions as it will. And then if the trucks run empty back from town, well, it's only a short distance and who cares, they're only trucks. So now, getting in between the fields will be a bit of a challenge. I really don't want to smash apart any fields if I can avoid it. I will, however, need to approach the bank manager to get our loan extended. Hopefully he is amicable to that. Spoiler alert, he was. Hopefully we can fit a road in just down here around the farm without removing a field. We can, look at that. And our autosave swoops in to save the day to make sure we don't lose that progress. Thanks, autosave. You got my back. Now, we should be able to squeeze him in there. He can just get in range of the farm. Doesn't give us much room for expansion if we want, but yeah, I think we can deal. Yep, that's catching the farm nicely there. So let's have a look at our contours. What do we got? We got a fairly straight shot. We'll just have to whoop around that field, sort of delicately. Fairly straight shot down to the food processing plant there. Obviously, we will be getting in the way of this planned log route to planks to one of these two factories. But you know what? I don't care. Cross that bridge when we come to it. I did not mean to get rid of that. Let's bring that back up. Let's close that down. And let's start building some train tracks. And somehow we've managed to come out of a mighty cutting. And yeah. Well, at least we've avoided the field. Now this road is definitely going to be in the way, so we will knock him aside. We'll just make sure this track flattens out so it follows the natural curves of the landscape. Now when I connect the road back up, is that going to bodgy up our crossing? It's not ugly. It's not pretty, but it's not ugly. I mean, you know, you could use those words to describe a lot of people, as well as train tracks. Now, before we get too far, we should probably figure out what sort of station we want at this end. Now, looking at this rather sad-looking depression, it looks like we'll probably be trucking into San Bernardino if we decide to deliver food there. Although, we have another farm up here, we have another food processing, we have multiple food processing plants, but we have an opportunity to run a train in a similar fashion from Ventura up through Orange and drop off food on the way back. So it would behoove us, Yeah, I'm breaking out the big words today. To build a through station that we can always expand later. I did not mean to zoom in that much. That is some aggressive zooming. And wouldn't you know it, the factory is going to be a pain in the ass because it's built on the side of a hill. How far away can we get this station? And how curvy can we get it to avoid sort of having to do too much landscaping? We can get quite a nice curve on that. Let's see, if we go about here, hopefully we can expand this station without sort of impacting too much on the surrounding landscape. Okay, now the trick is going to be getting the tracks around here without too much in the way of earth moving. And for some reason there's a hole there. I'm not sure I want to know, but what do you want to do? You've actually just put a hole there. Can we do anything about that? No, there is just, for some reason, some sort of black hole in the landscape that the game has decided to work around. That may be a problem later. If we try and put a second track in, it really wants to put that hole there. That's really weird. Look at that! Well, it's going to frustrate and... yeah. Oh, here we go. Have we sort of gotten rid of it? No, it really does not like that one spot in the landscape, does it? If we put the second track in now... no, hates it. Hates it. Hates it. Hates it. What if we demolish the track? Can we... okay, we can now flatten that out. I realise I'm just pissing away money for the sake of a very minor aesthetic. But you know what? We've fixed the sinkhole. I think that's worthy of celebration. What were we doing? We're building train tracks. Okay, let's try and follow this this contour line around here. We're going to have to go uphill a bit. No avoiding it. Apparently we're going to have to have a, sort of a cutting to get uphill. That seems fair enough. Let's bump over the crest here and sort of head this way. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to be a cutting? You're going to be a... oh, that's actually quite pleasing. I saw these two contour lines close together and I thought we might have a problem. Now, we need to somehow get that connected up to our existing depot so we can share trains in the future. You know what? Eventually we're going to extend our refinery line down around to Orange because we've got the chemical plants over here and we probably want to deliver fuel to this region of the map. So for now we might have to build a second depot and just damn the expense because it's arguably cheaper than connecting up the existing freight line. You know what? We've got a through station here. It should be a simple matter to just extend the line out this way and throw... no, not a bridge, and throw down another depot. Smash. I mean, that way we might end up demolishing that depot later and just using this one for trains. And isn't that a pleasing little S-curve following the top of the mountain? You know, except for this sort of funny looking hill here and this odd looking landscaping that someone did here earlier. Don't know who that was. Wasn't me. What have you heard? Right, setting a lineup is our next priority. So we want to go da 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 da. That was entirely without necessary fanfare, but we'll run with it. Now, where are you going? You're going from Tucson to San Bernardino, so we will call you cattle/food. Now, I don't know if we can fit in the words Tucson and San Bernardino, so we'll just type in, we'll capitalize it so it's obviously an abbreviation, and we'll just call you Samba. Samba. Sanba? Maybe Sanbada. That doesn't make much sense either, but you know what? It'll do. It's Tux to Sunbunda. Sunbunda. All good things happen in Sunbunda. What happens in Sanbunda stays in Sanbunda. Right, okay, build a train. Build a train. Stop yakking. Build a train. Get the money rolling. We'll go with the Baldwin 6-wheeler again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It does have 6 wheels. Okay, I don't know why I doubted that. Now, as I said before in the last episode, the boxcar can carry both livestock and food, making it perfect for our purposes. How many can you carry? Let's have a look. What's the button I want to push? That one. 21, 28. Oh, not enough money. Oh, actually, maybe we, instead of building the giant boxcar, we'll just build this cute little European goods wagon. It can only carry 4, but The four-wheel wagon looks a bit better behind this this ancient, sort of primitive-looking train. 24, 28. What's that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't really want to overload the train, and we've run out of money anyway. So, well, we're going to have to borrow money anyway, so let's just chuck one more. 32. That's a nice round number. It's just as round as 28 is, but you know what? I'm just going to let it stand. Now, you're going to head off on the cattle food Tuxtasumbada run. Now, obviously, we will initially get a few cattle coming down here, but quite quickly the food processing plant will realise it has nowhere to send food, and it will cease production and probably get the shits with us. So we will need to set up a attendant trucking route in Tucson. Just set the route up, already forgot what it was called. So now that includes both the farm, doesn't need to, mostly just needs to include the station. It's probably cheaper over here, there's less landscaping to be done. Yeah, so as long as it includes that freight station as catchment, we will have food unloaded here. We will then teleport the food over to the truck stop, because I don't see hundreds of men with hand carts walking it around on the road here. And then once it's at the truck stop, we can send it into town. Now, let's have a look. Where's our commercial district? Oh, that's awfully convenient. We can put a truck stop sort of in this part of town, capture this commercial region here, and also capture this industrial area. Now, it's important to catch the industrial area because we've got a refinery down here that we're already using. So further down the line, we could have a fuel train dropping its fuel off on the way to Orange over at the food processing plant, chuck a couple of tank cars on, and actually run the fuel up here using our existing network. Will we do it? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Jury's still out. What am I, a mind reader? See, fortune teller? I don't know. What am I, someone? Clairvoyant? I don't know. I'm not. So that gets a good chunk of the town at a reasonably low price. We'll throw a depot down over near the farm because we don't want to get in the way of town development. Where's a cheap spot to build a depot? I do like a cheap depot. For some reason it's cheaper to go this way. Let's do that. We'll need to set up a route to go with our new truck stops. And we will call that, we'll call it deliveries, I guess, because it will be bringing in multiple different types of cargo in the long run, and I'm a big fan of a consistent naming convention, I guess you'd call it. Whether we are consistent or not, that's up to you guys, the jury, to decide. But I stand before you an innocent man. Sorry, thought I was somewhere else. We are deliveries to Tucson. Yeah, I like that. That's good. We will ask you to full load at Tucson branch, please. Yeah, we'll get rid of that because the pretty colours detract from the beauty of the game, ironically. And we will need some trucks. Now we have a horse wagon or a horse wagon. Now I can't see any difference between them. They're both 2.7 horsepower. Both cost the same to run. Both live for 15 years. Top speed 15. Blah 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 blah. I'm assuming one of those is the European and one of those is the American version, because as you can see we have the two different passenger carriages, which again, same stats, just different model. Let's see. Well, it's going to get dirty anyway, so let's go with the dirtier version. We'll start with 2, just because we are not exactly flush with cash. I'll pay down our debt, so we have exactly $247. Yeah, I'm going to spend all that at once, probably. Oh man, that driver looks bored. Look at him. He's just got the lean on. He's just is he half-heartedly applauding his 2.7 horses? And is that a big barrel of moonshine under your chair there, champ? We might have to talk about this later. So as you can see, we've got our first horse carts trotting merrily into the station. And he's just going to cross his legs and wait. Good. And it looks like we've got our first cattle. Yes. I'm hoping there's cattle in those there crates. Those there crates? Them thar crates. Yes, because I'm apparently a pirate. Now, if only we had some sort of train to transport the cattle down to the food processing plant. Well, I see we've gone into the red now. I guess I shouldn't have paid the loan down. However, it is August, so it's a good idea to get on top of our loan before the new year, because, as you can see, I managed to save $10,000 in interest by paying our loan down this year. Now, while we've done all that yakking, has the train gotten any closer? No, let's go to it. Let's just zoom in down at this level crossing here. And there she goes. Awesome. Okay, well, she is going to pull in and pick up 14 cattle. Well, everyone's got to start somewhere, I guess. So that cattle will come down here, turn into food. It will be a little bit of time before we see any sort of return on that, so I will likely fast forward to give you folks the benefit of not having to watch while we slowly slide further into death. Yep, minus 10.5 grand. That's fine. We can come back from that. We can always come back from that when we've got our fantastic fuel trains. Look at that. The original train's still the best, and the imitator is, well, a poor imitation, I guess you'd say. Let's have a look at, compare the finances. Yeah, the original train is doing slightly better, but actually not by much, no, so we'll let it stand. We're doing all right. But yeah, so as I said, I will fast forward because, oh, now we're 81,000 in the hole. Makes 10 grand not seem so bad, doesn't it? And yeah, I guess we'll pick this up shortly when we've got a bit more money to play with. Now, just while riding around on our train and enjoying this spectacular, mostly, looking at you, railway line, unspoiled landscape here. I mean, this is a really pretty game, isn't it? I noticed something. The contour lines here that we were so concerned about, yeah, they've created quite a little grade up here. Now, as this is a fairly early train, it's not really good on the old horsepower. Well, 95 is better than 2.7, but yeah, he's not great. Let's not give him too much credit. So I wonder if he's going to struggle up this hill with a full load of food. And then, of course, we've got this stupid bump at the end where the tracks had to recorrect to get back on the flat. So we've got 218 grand in the bank. I'm going to hit the pause button because all good track work is done while paused. And I'm just going to see if we can't rebuild this in a more pleasing fashion now. Is that the start of the grade? There it is. Good. Let's see if we can just ease things off with a bit more of a cutting. Yeah, that's a bit better. It's not much better, mind. It's still a good old climb up there. But yeah, by virtue of digging out a bit more landscape, I think we've saved ourselves a bit of a future headache there, and I don't have enough Panadol to deal with the headache that will provide. Now, we've got a... Oh, what do I keep clicking on him for? The window's already open. We've got a massive profit-making enterprise on our hands. He's bringing back a solid 4 food. So, you know, 1 wagon's worth. And each of our trucks, who have apparently gotten sick of waiting and naffed off and come back in the time it took him, can hold 4 food each. So I may have been a bit over-enthusiastic with the 2 trucks. Where's our train? Here he is. Here it comes. He's coming back. He's coming back. So look, it will pick up. This farm will kick into high gear once it realises it's got a customer for its cattle. Likewise, the food processing plant over there will kick it into high gear once it realises it has a customer for its food in the form of Tucson here. Until then, though, we're going to have to do it a bit tough. So yeah, sorry for the interruption. I will return to fast forward and see you shortly. Now back here at Tucson Farm, we have 48 cattle waiting, and I think I can hear a train approaching. I said I think I can hear a train approaching. That's fine, we'll wait. Got all day. Oh, here you are. Hello. Welcome back, friend. So as you can see, this route has come into its own. He's bringing a full load of food back in, and he will be leaving with a full load of cattle with some change left behind. As you can see, that has turned into a fairly decent profit margin, even in the first year of profit making. Profitability? I don't know what the correct term for that is. But yeah, as you can see, running with a full load both ways is definitely good for the bottom line. So good so that we now have a backlog of food arriving at Tucson branch. So first order of business will be to chuck another couple of horse wagons on there. Deliveries Tucson, that'll do. I'm changing the naming convention. I don't like it. It just doesn't flow off the tongue. We're going to call it Tucson Deliveries. It's so much better. Yeah, I mean, one of the things they updated in that patch recently was you can now search your lines. So I like to categorize them. So if I know I'm looking for a cattle line, I go to C and look down through all my cattle lines. But now that you can search, it's probably not as important to have a consistent naming convention. However, it is apparent that we are moving beyond the capacity of this one little train, and I do not want to make him any longer because we have obviously this grade over here to worry about for loaded food trains, and we also have this grade over here for loaded cattle trains trying to come up and into the platform. I mean, it's not a long hill, but it's a fierce hill. Fierce hill, is that what we're going? We're going with it. It's been said, leaving it there. Not going to change it. So yeah, we need a second train. Now, we only have one track, so that means we are going to be building a second track. I know, spoiler alert, right? So while he chuffs along, we've got a little bit of money in the bank now. I've even paid down a smidge of our loan. So as you can see, moving into the new year, we only paid 45 grand instead of 50 grand. Every cent counts at this stage of the game. Thank you very much. So let's just see what we can do about getting a couple of passing loops in here. We'll be double tracking this line eventually, I'm sure. So our passing loops will have to remain consistent so that we can easily... Too much slope. Okay. Let's make it a bit longer then. We need to make them reasonably easy to work with so that when we do end up double tracking the route, it's a simple matter of connecting up the loops. Throw a signal down there. Chuck a couple down to protect the crossing. Not that anything we have is using the crossing at this stage, but, you know, again, future-proofing. We'll make you a one-way signal. Thank you. We'll make you a one-way signal. Thank you. Good, there's one passing loop in. We'll drop down a home signal here so trains can follow along. Obviously one has to be very careful when placing signals on single track sections. You don't accidentally have too many signals so that your trains end up facing each other in a never-ending Mexican standoff that you will have to manually intervene. So I'll throw in another passing loop here. Connect up some points there. We'll connect up some points at this end. There we go. Simple. Easy. I'm waiting for the catch. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'll drop in a few signals for this one. Pop a couple down like that. We don't need one of that in because he's coming out of the station. One-way signal there. Look at this. He's already using the new track, such as our efficient train driver. Yeah, good work, son. Well, that should increase capacity. We'll wait for this chap to turn around. I will move over to hyperspeed just to make sure that happens quickly. So once he turns around, he'll leave with a load of food, and once he gets part way along the line, we will investigate extending our loan. How much can we borrow? We can get up to 10 million. Okay, well, we're only about halfway there, and we will be having our fourth train soon, and if they all keep printing money like the first three have, that should put us in a pretty good position moving forwards. Let's move towards the depot so that we can actually get this new train underway. How many wagons do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I know you have a capacity of 32, so that should be about 8 wagons, I reckon. Now, another 6-wheeler, please. That's a decent chunk of our funds already. How are the wagons costing almost as much as the engine? I mean, he's 172 grand, and that's a frickin' engine. That can move stuff. And then we've got goods wagon for 125. And looking at our budget, we can get 2. That's not going to make much money. Let's approach the bank manager. Look, we've been pretty good paying our loan off so far. What do you reckon? You give us a bit more? He's going to give us a bit more. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Just a bit of an extension on the old loan there. Yeah, 8. 32, that is what we wanted. Off you go on cattle food from Tux to Sinbad. And we'll get rid of all these encumbering windows. And we'll take hyperspeed off because that does not make for engaging television. And on his first run, he is going to be already bringing the money in with a load of 16 food. Not a full train, but considering Everyone's got to start somewhere. I think that's a pretty good starting point. And if we can get a payoff from one of our other trains soon, we'll be able to pay down a little bit of that loan we've borrowed, because I really want to keep on top of our loan interest, because, well, look, it's not going to cripple us. We're making 1.5 million in profits from our trains. 50 grand is you know, not much. It's drop in the ocean, but keep on top of it, because that's cumulative. Every year, if we pay 50 grand over 10 years, that's $500,000. That's $500,000. Better in our pocket than in the bank's pocket. Not that I don't like the bank. You're very good to me. You loan me money without question. You let me take out loans and spend them on ridiculous trains, building stupid railway lines, adjusting landscape for absolutely no reason. So, nothing against the bank, but yeah, I'd rather see that money in our pockets, which we can then use to build passenger trains. Now, coming back over to this side of the map, obviously a second train means more food, more cattle being transported. We'll need to ensure that we can keep up over here on the road delivery side. So we'll grab another couple for Tucson deliveries. And how is that line going anyway? He is making he's making about 5 grand. You know what, it's not much, but he is enabling our train to bring in the big bucks. So as long as he is in the green, I really don't care. Trucks are cheap to buy. They're cheap to renew, cheap to replace, blah, 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 blah. So as long as it enables our train lines to make a decent profit, I'm going to allow them to just do their own thing. Just chill. Just relax. Yeah. So that is 2 freight routes set up. It's hard to say what we're going to do next. You know, last time I said we were going to move on to passengers. I also inspected the possibility of a log to plank operation, plank to down here and add plastic from the chemical plant and whatever. All a bit beyond our budget at this stage, but it is something I'm going to keep on the back burner. While we've been earning money, I've been looking at the Boston area. I've done a bit of sort of, I guess you'd call it surveying of the landscape, you know, building tracks that I'm not actually going to build, just to price them out and see how they will fall regarding the contours and the other tracks. So for example, I figured out if I built a track all the way across here, I can turn that into a rather spiffy looking bridge, cutting across our existing oil line. Looks pretty sharp. We've got a few design options too. You know, we can go timber, we can go stone, we can go steel, we can go a different type of steel. You know, options are good. Options are good. We can get quite an attractive bridge going there, I'm sure. That is $500,000 though. But I'm thinking that will enable us to connect Boston and Tucson. Now, I'm willing to put in a big honkin' great bridge at great expense to us for a pissy little passenger line initially, because I have little doubt that we will be able to build on that bridge and expand it, and it will be a pretty much permanent fixture for the next 100, 200 years or so. If we build it nice and straight and true, we can always upgrade the tracks later. You know, it's going to be a part of our network for a while. Coming to the end of the year, pay down that loan again. Now, that leads me to my next point, which is what sort of station are we going to build in Boston? That's a depot. I want to look at stations. Now, we're obviously going to be having a line out to Tucson. I can get rid of the station window while I'm gesturing. The line to Tucson will probably have a junction continuing to Columbia and or Gainesville. The line to Gainesville will then head down in the direction of Sioux Falls, Austin. Down in this direction, we'll probably call that the South Line because it is heading south. Now, you're wondering, how did I know that? Just a bit of an aside here. I figure out where north and south is by checking my station names. Tucson North, Tucson is there. Therefore, that must be north of Tucson. I know. It's a leap of faith to assume the game has actually put a station north of where it says it is, but you gotta have a faith. You gotta believe sometimes, and I'm gonna believe that Tucson North is legit north of Tucson. Gonna let that sink in for a minute. So yeah, Boston, what type of station do we want? I always like building a good old terminus station in my towns. So I was thinking we'll just smash in a good old terminus here. We can expand it out to be an absolute monster as time goes on, and boy, that's making the game lag something chronic because it is not happy with me for trying to build that. But is that really the most appropriate thing to do? Looks cool. Terminus looks really, really cool. However, that means that, I'll get rid of that to stop the lag, that means that any other lines we build, so basically anything not running up through the important junction town of Tucson, located as it is between two mountain ranges, anything not passing through Tucson, which realistically will be anything sort of, what's that? If that's north, that'd be east. Yeah, so anything east of Columbia, really, probably won't want to pass through Tucson. So if we have a station with all our tracks pointing in this direction, they're all going to have to come around and go over this bridge. Now that'll be cool initially because we'll have quite a few trains using it, we'll see a return on the investment. But then we're going to have to spin the trains right around again, coming up through here to get to San Bernardino, or Sinbad as I will affectionately call it, Orange, Minneapolis, Ventura, Nashville, etc. They will all have to come around in a bit of a detour, and that I reckon will create a bit of a bottleneck here in sort of the Boston Yard area. So even though I said we would be having Boston as a major terminus, I'm thinking of twisting that around and actually making it sort of a really big through station. So you can come in from either side. Obviously most of our lines will terminate at Boston, but it might enable us to sort of have a bit of a suburban line, maybe going from Tucson through Boston and around to Orange and Ventura that way, and just to have a sort of high-speed commuter network, well, high frequency rather, connecting those up. And I mean, we might extend it out to Gainesville or something later, and the benefit of that will mean our mainline trains, the ones that go off to the other side of the map, the southern side of the map, as we now know, they can maybe skip some of these intermediate stations. So for example, if we have it running out to Gainesville, it means our mainline trains can go straight to Gainesville. They don't have to dick around stopping in Tucson, picking people up who might want to go to Gainesville. They can just focus on getting as far as possible. In fact, we might even have that line go all the way up to Sioux Falls, and our trains leaving Boston going to this side of the river, the south side of the river we'll call it, they might be first stop Sioux Falls. And that means, they can have express tracks, and we can run high-speed trains. They can just storm all the way up to this part of the map and make the most of their capacity, and then just have sort of fill-in services doing these closer in towns, which I think is something to look forward to in the future. How are we going over here? We have a full load of cattle. We're stomping into the loop, and it looks like we're going to get a well-timed cross. So let's just sort of drift down. Nah, cross is probably going to happen at this end of the loop, I reckon. Or maybe not. That other train's getting here pretty quickly. Let's just get rid of the contour lines, and let's just chill out. Let's just chill out and enjoy the spectacle of our two new trains passing. You know what, I think that was actually pretty well timed. I don't think this chappie actually had to stop at all, or if he did, he probably only stopped for a second or two. Yeah, I think we could have done a lot worse there. Well, I was just whiling the clock away trying to pay down the loan a bit before I moved on to the next portion. I did notice the San Bernardino food processing plant is complaining we are not shipping more items. Obviously they're complaining about the backlog at the truck stop here, so we'll quickly chuck another couple of horse wagons onto Tucson deliveries there. But yeah, so I was just going to run the clock out for the rest of the year to pay down the rest, well, not the rest of our loan because that would be silly, pay down as much of our loan as possible. Our new trucks are coming out. What have we got? 95 waiting. You know what, we can do better than that. Let's get another couple. Let's chuck them on as well. We need to stay on top of this, or San Bernardino will stop producing food, which means the farm will stop producing cattle. But yes, as I was saying, I was just running the clock out at maximum speed, which I've put it back to now. Yeah, but so next time, it looks like we're going to crack on with connecting up some of our towns, hopefully get started on that passenger route I've been discussing over the last couple of parts. I'm not sure if we'll be going to San Bernardino, Orange, or Tucson. Well, actually I have some idea, but I'm going to leave that for you to discover next time. Until next time, thank you for joining me. Thank you very much for watching. I'll keep playing out the rest of the year here off camera just to pay down a bit more of that loan. And we will kick things off in 1858. Until then, I've been T-Nick. Thanks for joining me. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, feel free to hit the dislike button. Leave a comment. Tell me why you didn't like it. But yeah, thanks for joining me. See you next time. Bye.